But hello, everyone. Welcome to the 55th episode of the HSBG podcast. I'm your host, Educatedcollins, and I'm here with my constant co-host, Shady Bunny. Shady, how you doing?
I'm great, Collins. Excited for today. How are you doing today?
I'm stressing out because, I had to do all the topics. I have to do all the work. You just get to sit here like usual, but it's going to be great. We have a really good episode for you guys today. Also, we got a lot of surprises in store as well, which I think you guys are going to enjoy. So tune in, kick back. This is probably going to be a long one, just guessing on how many slides I've made. This is usually my criteria there, but yeah, it should be pretty fun. Pretty much always start on our weekly overview. That has not changed regardless. So Nagas are coming, but Nagas are not in yet, and the game is not played on what the future holds. It's based on what the meta is now, and the meta is not Nagas at all. It's just buddy nonsense. What's your thoughts on how you've been doing this week?
So it's been. I feel like this started the off season, right?
That's I agree with you.
Taking some time. I'm just mentally preparing for the next one, just letting my body chill as well and all that. Not pushing too hard. But what I can do is what I am doing. I'm practicing a little bit on Asia to get familiar with the input lag or whatever you want to call that, the ping. So yeah, it is different. The game is different. So it's a lot of strategies that I'm used to employing on EU. They don't really work. So I feel what Asia, well, maybe not Asia, but what just any like really high ping forces you to do is to be really efficient. Yeah, like this will make me rethink actions that I take when I have a lower latency. It was like, do I really need to do this action? Like, a lot of it is, let's say you have 2 hoggers and you're buying pirates. It's like, I don't care, right? I'm gonna skip pirates because if I buy every pirate I see, that's the only thing I do this turn. I've bought 9 pirates and now my turn has ended, and yeah, that's not good, obviously. So that's probably the main thing that I've learned, and you also just learn what you can and can't get away with. Like, if I have this much left on the rope, can I still play my card? Should I still try to buy something? When should I reposition on the board that it's actually going to stick instead of shuffle back to its original position? So yeah, the best way to describe it is that you it feels like you do something and then you have like a 2-second cooldown before you can take another action. So that is really your resource that you have to be very careful. It's like a big global cooldown where, okay, you do this, that means you do this, and you can't do anything else for a little bit. So it's made me really aware of, okay, what can and can't I do? Like Golden Brand Primal Fins, you'll play 2 of those in the turn max. That's it. You can't play more than 2 Primal Fins if you like Golden Brand. None of those shenanigans.
Okay.
What about you?
I've also been playing on Asia, and I've also had similar experience. But my takeaway is not, I should, be more selective. My takeaway is, how do I solve this lag issue so I can play a full power? How am I getting away? How do I maneuver? Do I travel? Am I traveling to Asia just to play 3 games and then lose and then come back and waste a ton of? No, I'm not doing that. I'm just saying, but like, I have noticed that it is very annoying, I would say. And it also kind of makes you appreciate how important like good decisions are compared to just, doing a bunch of fancy stuff. Like a lot of players like to let's just APM it up. And then their turn is like not that great. Well, all you really need to do is just like buy 1 key card, level, get your comp going, and then focus on the comps, clean it up. Make sure you got the Prester in there somewhere, and then bam, right? And it really goes to show you, like, I made the right decisions. Like that, you get that feeling, right? Like I made the right decisions here. Where
that feels great. Yeah.
If I had regular APMs, ping, I didn't have ping issues. I could just do a bunch of extra stuff that doesn't really make my comp like critically stronger, but it's cooler to watch. So it does make me appreciate those games where the right decisions are what make me win, but it also makes me frustrated and like, I can't do anything I want here. Like I'm just like, I am literally playing at like 1/3 capacity or something like that, maybe even worse. Like it just feels quite awkward, and I don't know.
I think a good example is what I had earlier today when I was playing Flurg. So my normal MO as Flurg is if I'm doing well, I'll go for the 6 drops with the buddy and the dongs.
Right.
And I was doing well, so I go to 6 and I'm making my transition turn, and I couldn't. Well, I mean, I ended with 3 dongs on my board.
Only 3? Wow.
Yeah, on my transition turn, right? So I ended with 3 dongs, but somehow 2 of those guys with 15 adapts each both missed poison. So I died because I couldn't repair that situation. If I was playing on EU, I could repair the situation. I could spam a bunch more Murlocs, right? Ram like 4 extra Begurgles on the board and be like, yeah, they'll have some damage now and some health and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Right? I won't die, but I died. So I'm just like, I can't really transition, can I? That was the big deal for me. So my takeaway was, let's say if you're in a situation like that in a tournament, you just have to say, I'm gonna stay on tier 4. I'm gonna just buff maybe a ghoul, maybe a selfless, but I just cannot afford to try and level to 6 and swap into dongs because the latency just doesn't allow for that fancy play. No transitions, essentially. Like you can't have 2 Callies in your hand and a bunch of battle cries. Like you're just not gonna make it, right? Those kind of plays, you just gotta do cut and dry, play what you have.
Yeah. Another thing I realized is that the tournament, the qualifier starts at 3 a.m. for me. I just realized that yesterday. So I
Wait,
just like,
is this a different time than
it's a different time, so it might be different for you too.
Then I either misread it or they changed it, which is most likely I misread it.
I haven't read it. Lee said it. I'm just trusting him blindly.
Okay. Well, I am going to check that while you maybe guide us to our next topic, just to make sure.
I'm blindly trusting my competitors here. Yes, they might be debating me. I wake up at 3 and it's like
who are you going up against? Yeah, there you go. Think about it.
All right. Next thing we have the Rise of the Naga announcement. Right, this is the big juice I think of this week. I believe the blog came out yesterday, right, or something. Yeah, and they will be having a bunch of. Well, they already gave us a bunch of info, but we will be having a bunch of more info going out through the week, and we will get everything revealed on the 9th, I believe. So it's not too long, right? It's in just a couple of days we will have all the information and basically knowing what the whole new meta will be about. I mean, sometimes it's hard to know the meta until you actually play it, but you should be able to get a sense of how things change, unless a ton of things are changing, which might or might not be the case depending on how often or when you started playing. So there will be a lot to talk about regardless. So that should be cool. And as well as the announcements, we also do have some reveals by creators. We are also part of that. We have a reveal for Naga. It should be coming out on the hour essentially. So we will most likely be watching that together, even though I've seen it like 30 plus times because I made the video. So yeah, we will be watching that. Shay, seen it only a couple of times. He doesn't have that much work to do with that, but it should be fun. Hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Hopefully you guys enjoy the new cards and all the new changes that will be happening in the next patch. So that's gonna be cool. But without further ado, let's dive right into some of the content that they have already revealed. That should be pretty fun to talk about. Actually, we are the first thing. I think the most important thing that they revealed. What do you think is going to be the most important thing I'm going to talk about? Actually, the first thing we talk about. What do you think? What do you think that's going to be?
Oh, buddies are out.
That
obviously.
is correct. that is absolutely correct.
Just a tiny change for the next meta, right?
Buddies are gone, guys. I think that is absolutely the most important change. Like, buddies change so much about the game, right? Like, it's almost surprising because buddies have only been in for like 3-4 months, right? Like, it's not that long, but it feels so much longer, at least for me. Maybe it's because I've been like, buddies are like the first time they really had like the tournament structure, so I've been really like head first into like making sure I understand the meta and everything like that. But like, it really feels so much longer than it actually has been in the meta. So buddies are being removed, and that really kind of is gonna have emotions, I think, for the player base, right? Some people are really going to be like, buddies are gone, finally I can start playing the game, let's go back to hyper leveling, 4-on-4 meta back. And some people are like, no, buddies, my buddy, I miss him already, it's not even gone yet. I miss it. They're gonna be asking ourselves, does that mean they're not adding friend of a friend back? Like, no, that card's gone, dead. That's not happening. But I do think there were a lot of people that did care, that liked it. Me personally, I actually liked buddies personally. I didn't really have an issue with it, but I will say I am saying this with a biased lens, right? Like, I did well this meta. I didn't do that bad, right? Obviously, if you are playing well in the meta, it's going to be harder to dislike the meta because you're beating people, right? Like, if you're doing well, you're knocking people out. You're having a good time.
This is the most skill rewarding meta we've seen in a while, right?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that shit. but generally, I was beating people, so it wasn't too bad for me. So I didn't necessarily dislike the meta. Though the one major thing I don't like about metas is when I lose in hero selection. That's like maybe one of my biggest gripes, where I get 4 heroes and I'm just like, I can't win. Yeah. And I really felt in this meta, that was one of the lowest amount of times where I felt like I really couldn't do anything from the hero selection. Where, at least with this hero, with these minion types in, with this strategy, I have a chance to do well. Where before, if you had like Guff and 3 similar skill level of that, you're like, well, I'm going 7th or 8th. If I'm lucky, I'm 6th. It's not very fun to just know you're doomed from the beginning. So that was really the biggest thing I liked about this meta, that I could do a lot of things, even if some of the strategies for heroes were very one-dimensional because of the buddies. At least I had something to work with. Yeah, so absolutely. That was my opinion. What's your thoughts on the buddies?
Yeah, echoing definitely a good part of that. So I guess we talk about the trade-off, right? Like, what do we gain when buddies are out? What do we lose, right, with buddies going out? So what we lose is indeed what you said. There are, like, maybe not the most amount ever, but definitely up there, just viable heroes. Especially if we look back, I think before the Avenge meta, where not every hero could just let's say go for a matron or for a light spawn on 4. It was really, do I hit one of these 5 or 6 heroes, or am I not playing for first? We're not talking about not having a chance, that you're automatically 7th or 8th, but we definitely had that period where it was like, oh, so I'm not getting a Hook Dusk, I'm not getting a Jandis, I'm not getting insert 4 other powerful heroes. I'm not really playing for first, am I? And that is probably the thing that is the most impactful with buddies going, is right now there is such a wide spread of like, oh, you could come first with a whole lot of different heroes, like a whole lot of different heroes. And that's purely because the buddies is just such an interesting lever to put in the game, that the developers can be like, all right, you're going to be a lot stronger because you get a powerful buddy. So that's a lot harder to do now. What we gain with buddies going out is that there's a lot fewer forced -15 moments where Guff got his board, Maiev got a bunch of triples, Gallywix got the buddy, all these moments where, because we already have a game where people naturally spike, and if you fight someone on their spike turn, it sucks. But if you have buddies that pretty much guarantee a spike turn, you just up that frequency like crazy, where there's so many different spike timings now where you can really feel like you're just being bounced from one spiking hero into another, and your whole mid game was just, well, I took 30 damage across these two moments and I had no chance to actually play the game. So that's something that we should see less of. It's still going to be around, of course, because sometimes you just fight someone that triples into two mama bears and you're taking 15 damage. There's not much you can do about that. But yeah, I would say that's the trade-off for the most part.
Another thing that we do gain is that you're going to have more freedom in how you play the game, in two ways, right? First, leveling should be more prominent, just because you're not forced to have some tempo because, oh, I need to get my buddy on this turn or I instantly lose the game. Another thing is you don't like. We haven't really talked about the buddy meter in particular, but I think we will talk about that as well. But another thing you get is you don't get that like, oh, I'm playing Alex, or I mean, I guess Alex Strauss. That's a bad example. I'm playing.
Now we can play Beast Alex.
Yeah,
thank God. Right?
Yeah, that's true. I'm playing Maiev. Okay, I need to level here to guarantee that I get 2 5s or 2 6 here because my buddy forces me to play that way, right? You can do other things, and other heroes can also, play other strategies where sometimes you're playing this hero and it never goes beast because it has to go this particular direction. Where if you're now without buddies, if you get like 2 mama bears, like that's good enough. Like I've played Flurgle, right, before buddies, and then we played that one game, right, where we just went
and it was horrible, by the way. So I think I agree with what you're saying, but don't use Flurg as an example. There's some poor listeners that are going to be like, I can do Beast Flurg now. Like, no, please play Murloc Flurg. Flurg is not one of these heroes that is flexible, that does a lot of different things. Even when buddies are out, play Murlocs on your Flurg.
I'm trying to give a real life example, Shady.
Yeah, okay.
I'm trying not to say stuff out of my.
What do we have?
I'm trying to say.
What do we have that's like very obvious, right? Whenever like a strategy that's super obvious, I guess Vol'jin Mutinous might be a good example, right? Where Vol'jin Mutinous, if dragons are in, you are going to stay on one for a big chromoing, and that's just how it is, right? That's what you're gonna do, because anything else you do doesn't beat having a 100 attack minion that then makes 3 more 100 attack minions. Right? So that is a good example of like, okay, these heroes gain a lot more flexibility. Hey, if you want to level on turn 2 on your Vol'jin, you can. You could also chase the Chromoing, but now that you no longer have the buddy, which will copy the highest attack, if you don't want to go and chase Chromoing, you don't have to. Whereas before, you pretty much have to right now. If you're playing Vol'jin and Dragons are in, you're staying on tier 1. You're getting that Chromoing guaranteed, because there's just no way you're not going to take that.
All I'm trying to say is that you have more flexibility in the directions that you can play with pretty much every hero because buddies are gone. That's another advantage. If you like flexibility, if you like forcing things and having one direction that's like the best for that hero, then buddies being gone is kind of a downgrade. But generally, I think a lot of people like to showcase more skill, and more flexibility equals more skill. So that's a plus for me, at least. So that's another benefit I wanted to toss in there. But I do also think we should take some time talking about the buddy meter specifically, because a lot of people had opinions about it. It was a pretty opinionated topic. I think some people were okay with buddies, but then didn't like the buddy meter implementation, I guess. Right? They're like, oh yeah, buddies are fine, but I hate losing to PupBot, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think we can boil all the complaints down to one big complaint, which is, why am I not getting buddy meter when I'm hitting a Divine Shield?
Yeah, I think that was one of the more problematic things about the buddy meter. Like, some people didn't like that you had to play tempo in essence. Like, why am I forced to I have to play down, I have to stay on 1 to make sure I get my buddy if I'm like tests, right? I can't level with tests because the likelihood that I recover my first 2 turns of buddy progression is too low, so I have to stay on one force like Wrathweaver scaling, you know, because to get my buddy a turn early, or I do everything correctly, but my strongest attack minion went into their Divine Shield, and now I only get
99%, baby.
Yeah, now I'm 99% exactly. Oh, 99% in itself was also very tilting. I was like, why can't we just like give me the 1%? Like, just give me that extra bit. Like, why am I stuck at 99 and I lose the game because of that? That one was also pretty annoying for me. But I do think some people are like would prefer just to get the buddy at the set turn every time, no matter what you did. Some people were suggesting that. Some people just wanted to not lose percentage because they hit into a Divine Shield. That's probably where I agree. Like, that's probably where I align the most, where just the Divine Shield factor was more like, because I kind of like that you could get your buddy early if you play tempo, you know, or something. That wasn't really an issue for me. I kind of was okay with that, but just like losing the meter because I, you know, my thing went into like a, what's that Quilboar Divine Shield? A Tough Tusk, yeah. My big unit went to a Tough Tusk with the gem, and then I don't get my buddy because of that. Yeah, I have lost multiple games because of that one situation.
It's so tilting when you have like a 7 health Chroma, it goes into a 7 damage Tough Tusk. You're like, no. Yeah, so. I was supposed to hit 2 things. Now I get nothing. Especially when you, let's say you're Jeep curving, you're going up early with the, you know, with the logic of, well, this Chroma Wing will get me my buddy no matter what. Yeah. Right? Surely, chat, I will not hit the Divine Shield with this big Chroma Wing. Boom, right? And then you're truly out of the game because you've power leveled. You've leveled a little faster than the norm right now, and you don't have, you know, you're behind on your buddy, so pretty bad.
I ended up like some games where if I had like a big unit, I would put that like third. You know, normally you'd put it like first, but because I'm like
Scallywag first, go test the shield. Scallywags in the front.
It was usually like Micro Mummy. I'd put it in the front to like pop the shield first, and then I could get my attack in. Right, so I had to change like. Obviously, I would like lose those fights a lot of times, but I got my buddy, and that's what's important, right? But it always felt weird to be like, I'm gonna lose this fight because I really want to force that. But.
We might see some PTSD positioning from the buddy meters. So it's like, Chroma Wing third. I can't have it first. What if it's a shield?
Maybe like the first couple of days, right? But, but I do think buddies removed isn't going to be like. I don't know. I think people will get used to it after a while. Like, I don't think. I mean, there's going to be some people who are like, oh man, I miss buddies and stuff like that. But I don't think people are going to like just be like, oh my god, buddies are gone. Oh, the game is unplayable now. Like people complain about every meta. To be fair, right? Like
no matter every patch ever, the game has always become unplayable for a set number of people. You know, that's just how it is.
But. Even though buddies are removed, it's not necessarily that they're gone forever, right? And that leads me to the next topic that I kind of want to talk about. Battleground seasons. So, they weren't super clear on this, but I'm guessing, this is a guess. I have no idea if this is like actually true. I'm guessing they're going to be reintroducing some mechanics or removing mechanics. Like, I think there's going to be a season where the buddies are going to be back, essentially, is my impression on reading this. But every time there's a new season, it's going to be a rating reset. So rating resets are going to be tied to seasons now instead of just like tied to a month after expansion. And usually that'll bring like new things. This time it's bringing Nagas. I assume a new season, they might have prizes back. Like that's what I'm thinking. Oh, they'll have a meta with prizes. They might have a meta with Diablo every game. Like
no. That's the April Fool's meta, you know. You get that for a day.
Man, that would be April Fool's meta. But
I'm taking that season off, man. I'm taking off the Diablo season.
But yeah, I think that's an interesting way of doing things, kind of like expansions, their own like new season where they'll have prizes for a couple of months and then they'll be out, or they'll have buddies for a couple of months and then they'll be out, and then they'll have like maybe none of that, right? No buddies, no prizes, and then or something else, or they'll introduce a whole new thing, maybe like 5 minion type bands. I don't know.
No ban. No, I will say that I definitely agree, or I have a similar opinion that they've put so much work in buddies, and I
Yeah.
feel like it was a huge success.
Mhm.
It's not something where and because it's kind of crazy that it was such a huge success, because you changed the game so much, right? There's so many changes, and obviously at the start, there were some things that were a little bit too strong, just a tiny bit too strong.
I was looking at some of the old buddies, and I'm just like, wow, like they're all broken.
That was broken. Like basically every tier 2 was like, oh, that was broken at tier 2. So, but yeah, like after that, I think it was actually really nice. So it's really cool that they can make such a huge change to the game. Be like, huh, didn't break the game. Cool. All right, let's play this. So I think that indeed, with so much work put in, with so many buddies already made, that I would be very surprised if this is the last we see of buddies ever. So I do think at some point or another, it's obviously just pure speculation, right? They'll probably make a return. It would feel weird, to put so much work into it and say goodbye, never seen him again.
Bye buddies forever. Bye prizes forever. I do think they will be back, but they will have to kind of give us more information about the seasons, right? I think it's been, it's like a sentence, right? And I can't make a whole like 10-minute speech about this sentence. It's not enough info, so that would be pretty good to see. But I think we can kind of start talking about the actual new cards being added, the new changes and whatnot. So
let's go.
We can take a look at that. Prepare for Rise of the Naga. So we got the new minion type Naga, spell-thirsty minions drawn to magic. I like magic personally, even though I've never used any. But theoretically, I have no idea how difficult implementing magic into this society would be. So maybe I don't like it, right?
All the games I play with you, you're a spellcaster.
Yeah. When I'm playing games, I always go spellcaster, yeah, for sure. Because spells are magic's the best. Like people always play knights and stuff; they're tanky, and I just blow them to smithereens before they can touch me. And it's like, why be a tank when you can just die in 2 spells? Anyways, we're going off topic. But they tend to give you spells or get more powerful when spells are played around them. So we have 2 cards. Example: a Snow Cavalry. It's a 2-mana 5/2. Once returned after you cast a spell, gain +2 health. Before I knew what spellcraft was, I was like, But once you know you just need 1 spellcraft minion to activate this ability or activate its buff every time. It's a lot easier to trigger, and that makes this feel a lot stronger. So I think this will be pretty played. What's your thoughts on this card?
Yeah, no, it looks. I think it's we talked about this before. I think it's one of those cards that it comes a little bit in a package where you'll buy it if you don't have like 2 other good minions you want. We're talking turn 3, turn 4.
Turn 3, turn 4.
Right?
Yeah.
That's when you're going to be buying this card most of the time. So if you don't have 2 great alternatives, it's a little bit like buying a Sarlisk, where you're just like, okay, I'll buy that now and then have return later. Although this will get faster, bigger, right? Because once you get 1 spellcraft minion, you're set, right? Like that's like a death rattle every turn.
Yeah,
just buff it up.
It's too easy.
So I'm pretty sure that like you'll buy it, even though it's not ideal, just because of how easy it is to trigger later on.
Well, the one thing about Nagas, everyone will be playing this, so everyone will buy this at the first week. If Tess is the best hero in the game, day 1, I'm telling you, everyone's just gonna be Nagas. But after a while, like people will start understanding, oh, do I actually want to commit to Nagas? Is it good enough? But like day 1, I say buy it. People, dragons are in. Yomura's on the Naga with spellcraft. That's don't worry about that. So I do think it will be played, and it should be good. The I just think the requirements for it is pretty low. You just need a spellcraft minion at some point, and then it starts going. Like the one issue is it doesn't gain attack, so it's kind of like a guard in that sense, where it's getting health and health and health, but no attack. So you do have to find a way to buff it. But it's early enough that even like a 5/10 is really good. Like early in the game, a 5/10 is really strong. So it shouldn't be a problem. Speaking of buffs, though, we've got Tide Master. Tide Mistress. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the second name. Atissa. That's how I think that's good. Atissa. Okay. After you cast a spell, give 4 friendly Nagas +1/+1. What's this card make you think of, Shady?
Like another hero or minion?
What minion does this card make you think of?
After I cast the spell,
what? Why are we taking this long?
Okay, no, go.
It's Caligos. What?
Oh,
it's spell Caligos.
4. Okay, well, I thought we were talking. Yeah, never mind. I was going.
Where were you going? Where were you going?
I was going a little bit too literal here on like having to play something to trigger it and then blah 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 blah. But no, sure, Naga Caligos, but a lot faster. I would say.
I think it might be better.
Well, I'm pretty sure.
Sorry.
Assuming that you have a board full of Nagas, I'm gonna go ahead and say that it's pretty fast because on top of all the spellcraft you have on your board, like that's already gonna balance out all the battle cries you're buying that turn, right? And then you can buy more spellcraft minions, just like you would buy battle cry minions with Cali, right? And then just
what can make this card super broken is that you don't have to do anything to get stats. Right, let's say you have like 3-4 spellcrafts on your board. Every turn you get 3-4 spells, right? So you don't even have to play a single card, and you're getting +12, +12, +16, +16 without doing anything before the turn starts. And that just seems,
this gives me like pre-nerf Charlie vibes, where it was like the 7/7 that buffed everything, and this is more conditional. For sure, right? You need a board of Nagas, at least 3 other Nagas essentially, for it to get maximum value. But when you do, and at the start, a lot of people are going to really force Naga. Yeah, I think this it might be a little early to call, of course, but I definitely try to start.
This needs to be nerfed, right? Like,
how can they print this?
How can they print this card? They don't. They don't understand. It's broken.
I'm definitely getting some pre-nerf Charlie vibes, right? Everyone's playing boards is like, oh, just triple into a Charlie. That's all that matters. And now with this, the first 2 days, you probably can't really go wrong with trying to make a board of Nagas and then trying to get it this.
Yeah, I mean, if we look, I imagine it with Stormscale, right? Like, this should work, right? Where they cast the spells on themselves, and then you'll get this with on top. So you'll get like, let's say you have three spellcrafts, you'll get an extra +12 +12 by buying this card.
Well, it says after you cast the spell.
Oh.
So I'm not sure if that would work.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have to test it. That sounds really good, though, if it does work in that.
I'm going to go ahead and say that, it will work? Oh, dear Lord. Okay, we have confirmation that it will work. Oh, my God, yeah. Okay, well, play Atissa probably the first 2 days for sure.
Yeah, so that's a bit... That's a lot of stats
right there. Those stats are going up.
And we haven't even talked about their synergies with other spells, right? Because spellcraft units are not, or spellcraft cards are not the only spells in the game. There are coins. There are triples. Discovery triples are spells, which I don't think a lot of people think about. And blood gems. Blood gems, guys. Blood gems. I think if Nagas and Crowbars are in, it's so disgusting. Like, what? The amount of blood gems you can generate already in the game is like, you can very easily just get full boards of blood gems, right? Like, if you're playing, but let's say George or...
just rolling into bacon, right? Like, 2 gems, 2 spells.
Just,
like, if you have an Atissa on the board, like, bacon, ding, ding, 2 spells.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
When Quillboars are in, I just think this is gonna be so nuts, right? As long as you can get it early and you know what you're doing, you can be safe, right? Like the
Yeah.
amount of spells you can craft, you can play with blood gems is really going to be hard to deal with. is, is what I think. So this is gonna be really scary in the first couple of days. We do have to play with it to see uh, how other minion types deal with this scaling and how fast you can really get this online. But just looking at it, reading the card, analyzing it here, it really looks like this could be the new hotness.
Nuts right
Yeah, the
now.
new nuts. Yeah. So
So I'm just going over chat a little bit. So
mhm.
first of all, bananas, Mukla can
Yes,
trigger
yes.
this twice, right? Which is the hero power, but
Maps,
then
like
everyone
the
else.
maps, bananas. There's a lot of spells like you guys
Yeah.
aren't thinking about. Yeah. So, uh,
And also flat tusk, right?
yeah,
Flat
yeah.
tusk with this, and then you just oh my god, yeah. All right, well, lots of potential, lots of potential.
Yeah, so pretty scary stuff. And then we have the new keyword spellcraft. Some some Nagas have new keyword. Minion spellcraft grants a temporary spell each turn. So the first thing I was wondering is, does it trigger when you play it? And it does. So you get the ability as soon as you play it. So it makes some of the unit, it really gets to show you like how strong are these spellcraft units, right? This is gonna be a 3/3 like turn one. And I was looking at the list. The only thing this thing loses to is the pirate, is Scally. It
Right.
ties or beats everything else. So if pirates are out, like you can play this, you have no worries, you'll take damage. And it has more benefit in the future, right? Like let's say you can buy this and then you can like get a Chroma Wing next turn and you buff the Chroma Wing level. Oh, and then now you have a 6/3 Chroma Wing and then it goes down to 4 and you're getting free 2 attack for no reason. Like there's value there. So uh, it should be a pretty powerful early game unit. I think it's also a Naga, which I mean obviously they all are, but I'm just saying.
It just sets you up, right? Yeah, like you have a pair of these guys. It's yeah, that's pretty good. You're gonna be able to trigger all your things that are related to playing spells, like
Yeah.
in particular early to for as far as the minions that we've seen so far, the 2-drop, right? Just snagging this one to make sure. And it's if it were poorly statted, you could say, well, you're taking a bit of a hit, but if they cast a spell on itself, then
If
it's a
it's a
3/3,
zero
like you said,
three,
which is
yeah,
great, right? Yeah.
yeah, maybe even if it was a 0/3, it'd still be played, right? Like just
Yeah,
buff
that's a
it. Yeah,
rock pool. Well, yeah, it's a rock pool stats, but you wouldn't get the effect, right? So
yeah,
I'm not saying like, oh, this needs to be nerfed or anything like that. I'm
yeah.
just
I'm not
saying like
saying that either.
solid,
Yeah,
it's a solid pickup early for sure. You can't really be, you're not going to be sad almost ever by picking up this minion.
yeah. And next time we have Shoal Commander, right?
Yep.
3-star 2/2 with spellcraft, giving minion +1 for each friendly Naga. I'm pretty sure it includes itself. So basically, it's like a 3/3. But if you are playing Nagas, which everyone will be playing, right? Let's say you have 3/4 Nagas, it's kind of like a 3-mana 6/6, a 3-mana 7/7, which is pretty darn good, I think. And the fact that you can target any minion, right? It means Divine Shields get a lot of value. Cleaves, if you get an early cleave, could get a lot of value there. I mean, we haven't seen all the Nagas, but we haven't seen if there's a Naga cleave. That's scary, though. I would be very scared dude, about that. But, we haven't seen all the Nagas yet. So there might be some really good targets to put on this that we don't know about yet.
Well, good synergy for sure with the Storm Scale Siren, the card we talked about,
Yeah.
in combination with it. So I feel like the show is one of these cards that you might want to be a little bit scarier, more
Selective.
scared off. Yeah, you not to be like, ooh, see a Naga, pick a Naga, right? It's like I have 0 Nagas on my board, slam dunk the show, right? Maybe, right? Maybe we're playing that kind of meta where
It's a
hey,
3/3, It's a 3-mana 3/3. That's not that bad. Yeah.
it's pretty atrocious 3-mana.
It's as good as a 1-drop, Like what?
War Leader's a 3/3 on a 2-star, and you're not really happy about taking that if you don't have Murlocs. So yeah. But yeah, it could be that it's so strong to play with Nagas that you are, you're just gonna pick this in preparation. But if you have a board full of Nagas, yeah, it'll be a slam dunk there for sure.
Yeah, and then we talked about Stormsail Siren a little bit, but this one really depends on how good the rest of these spellcraft minions are, right? Because we've only seen 2 so far, right? Yeah, so if the spellcraft minions are good, then this is great. Also, if you have the 6 drop, then this is probably good regardless, right? But early game, essentially, if the spellcraft minions that you can work with are really good, then this is good. Like, Show Commander is, I think, good enough to pick a Siren up because of, right? So, because you're essentially just getting free +4/+4 or something like that, And it has synergy later on. It has synergy with the other cards, so it's not going to be a bad pickup, but it really does depend on how good the other cards are. Any thoughts there? You just agree?
No, I mean, it's like I'm really
reading chat, huh? Yeah.
I am reading chat a little bit, but I'm also looking at the stream. I don't have the cards open myself, so.
Okay. Sorry.
It's fine.
I did not know
But
that.
I feel like this card is a lot less all in than the shoal, right? When you're picking it early.
You think so?
Right.
This card's less all in? Huh.
Than the shoal.
Because if you don't have any spellcraft minions, this does nothing.
It's a 5/4.
Yeah. That does nothing.
3/3.
That does nothing.
3/3.
But it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, but shoal doesn't do anything either.
With shoal, even if you have no spellcraft minions, you get to decide where you put your 1/1 on. Like, that's interaction. That's decision making. It's still weaker.
If you're going to give me +2/+1 and remove the choice of where to put the stats, I'll take it early game anytime. Just give me some more +2/+1s to my board. It's like no problem. So I'm very happy with the Siren, and I think that it's one of those cards that we're gonna maybe even complain about early when somebody high rolls. Let's say early game you roll 2 Nagas, and then you hit this the first turn you're on 3. That might be enough for you to just start power leveling a bit, get another powerful spellcraft, and then you start leveling again, and then you get a Thissa, and then whee, right? So I think it's going to be one of those cards that you're not going to want to skip, at least not early. When you're going to want to build around Nagas.
So basically, you're saying this is more of a direction. That's kind of the description you've kind of.
I'd say that the effect is more powerful than shoal, right? With shoal. So look at it this way. With shoal, every other Naga you're going to pick up represents +1/+1.
Yeah.
But with the Siren, she not only has more base stats, every spellcraft effect is most likely going to outperform +1/+1.
It's doubled, yeah.
Yeah, so you get that effect ×2. So I'm saying that it's probably just straight up quite a bit better than shoal. But like that's me saying that without playing the game.
Right.
So I have to play the game first, but that's what my instinct tells me.
Your logic sounds sound. I'll give it to you. But yeah, it will be interesting to see how it all shapes out. And we still don't have all the Nagas. We don't have all the spellcraft, right? Our opinions of these cards will change once we have all the information. But for now, they all seem playable, right? Yeah, they all seem playable. So. We have to see.
Playable's one way to say it, right?
They all seem extremely busted. I can't believe this. Oh man,
it feels like we're I'd say we're more likely headed towards the release of boars than away from that. But like you said, we need to see all the cards.
I agree.
And playing with them, So that's probably what it's good. So for anyone who didn't play when they released Quill Boars. It was a few days or longer, I don't know, of pretty much just see a boar, pick a boar, play a boar, because it's really good to play Quill Boar. So yeah, that's what Collins alluded to earlier. In that kind of meta, Tess is very good because, hey, what happens when everyone's playing the same tribe? That means you get to steal and make triples, and you'll be them but better. All right.
Next up, we've got the Queen comes for the crown. Queen Azshara, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I have seen quite a bit of step on me comments because of this card, which I find funny, but they're justified probably. We've got Azshara's Ambition. It's a new hero coming up. It's like a two-part hero, or it's kind of like what's that other hero? Arana, right? It's kind of like Arana, where
you portrait.
Yeah, you have something that doesn't do anything until you transform. Then you get this big power spike, and hopefully it's enough to like recover from not having a hero power in the early game. But you have a passive. When this warband reaches 30 total attack, you begin your Naga conquest. And then the question on everyone's mind: what is Naga conquest? That's what I was wondering. Right? It's down here. You transform. You get your new ability. 1 mana, discover a Naga. What's your thoughts on this hero?
The honest text on the hero is, if you have a Chroma Wing, get your hero power significantly earlier than people that don't have
Buy
a
Chroma Wing. I agree.
Buy a Chroma Wing. So yeah, very, very good minion on this hero. Other than that, I think it really depends on how fast the game is going to be and how punished you're going to be early for not having a hero power. I think if the game is like slightly slower where you can get away with it, it could be very good, right? If we're going to be playing, especially if you can get it online early. I think Dragons in versus Dragons out probably,
matters a lot.
Yeah, that's probably significant for this hero. Getting your hero power. Yeah, if you can get Bacon plus Chroma Wing, then you're there, very
quickly. Yeah, so I think you need Naga's Dragons Crowbars. And you probably have a chance because you could get like a single ground shaker early and then 1 pump and you're probably there.
That's true. Yeah. You get a ground shaker, 2 pumps, bam.
Personally, I'm thinking about this card. I think you likely to get this hero power or the transformation turn 6 or 7. Like 6 if you're lucky, 7 if you're not. And I think that's so long. Personally, and I don't like heroes that don't have early game abilities. I like heroes that are good early, good mid, and good late. Personally,
and good late.
Those are what I like to gravitate toward. And I do think that it's gonna suffer a little bit because it doesn't have an early game spike. I do think, like, comparative to Arana, the spike is larger than like getting 3 minions in your shop. So that might be enough. Like, it might be enough of a swing to just generate Nagas that you want to make up for the loss of the early game. But I do think it's going to be a bit weird. But I do think there are avenues to getting your hero power early. And then if you can do it early, then it should be pretty strong. So
yeah. If we can get this online, so when you go to tier 4, you usually float a gold, right? If you don't have a hero power, if you're not double selling. So if you can get them online as you go to tier 4,
and then hero power,
sort of like an Elise right now, where you go to 4 and then Elise maps you a 4. This will map you a Naga, so there's no guarantee that it'll be a 4-star.
There shouldn't be that many Nagas, right? Like, the chance should be decent.
Yeah, I mean,
and the 3s can be good, right? Like, if you get the 3 one, that's probably good enough.
So that's essentially my way of thinking about it. If we can, but we'd have to look at average board states and how much damage, right? We'd have to, but then again, the meta is going to be different. There's going to be different.
It's going to be more Nagas,
minions, right? So yeah, that's essentially what I'm looking at, is if we can get this online on 8 gold as we go to tier 4, hero power, discover Naga, recovers a little bit of your tempo, and then every single turn you're paying 1 gold to get a minion that is most likely going to be beneficial for your board. That should be good. But if we don't get it by 8 gold, we might indeed suffer a little bit too much tempo loss, and like it might not be enough to catch up. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be super duper interesting. I believe also
it's time.
It's time, yeah.
Time.
Yeah, aren't you very prepared, huh? But yeah, we should be able to watch the reveal, see some of the new stuff, and then we can talk about it real soon. So strap your seats. or whatever it is. I don't know.
Strap your seats. We're going with that. Committed.
Oh man, it should work, right? I had it scheduled. Oh, okay, there we go. There's quite a bit of things we
Well, we
want to
can
be
put the
talking
link
about.
in the chat, right, for anyone who would like to watch it again. Better sound.
Yeah, I could put the link in the chat as
I'll do it.
well.
I'll do it. It's fine.
Oh, okay, thank you, thank you. That's very helpful. But I think the first thing that we should be talking about uh is probably that Amalgadon's gone, right? Like
Yes,
I,
huge.
I think that's super important to talk about because it's as we were making this video, I wanted to see how long Amalgadon's in the game. It's been in the game for 2 years, like basically. That was way longer than I was thinking. I was like, oh, it's been in the game for a while, but it's actually been in the game basically forever since it's came out. And it's just been like kind of the strongest card in the game since it's been out. Just like how easily you can just make golden Amalgadons. I mean, not golden, but well, golden with seafood. But like how you can just make poison Divine Shield Amalgadons and just fill your board with that. And I was looking through I was trying to get like boards of dongs, and it was so easy to find just like first place dong board, first place dong board, first place. It's just like it's what wins games, and removing this is really going to change how people approach like some of the late game and how good or how strong of the boards you can make. So it is going to be a pretty important change, I think, moving forward. But there are other like replacements. I think Mantis Queen might be like kind of a similar effect. It won't be as good, but it is something to look for. And then also we still have Nightmare Amalgam coming back as well. So, and then what's your thoughts overall on some of these changes here?
So I was a fan of Amalgadon overall, just because of how buddies really
Yeah,
pushed.
Shady liked
Yeah.
Amalgadon. I was like,
Well,
oh.
in the buddy meta, right? So I think if you step away from the buddy meta and you don't have these, Gallywix obscene cleaves and I'm Zephyrus and I make a gold Nomi and like there's a lot of apparently there's still music right.
Yeah, I think I turned it off.
Okay, cool. So there were a lot of really, really dumb stat balls that you could make, and having Amalgadon, it gave you an option to counter that, right? Where you said, okay, you have your huge, huge, huge minions. I have Amalgadon now, so you can't just go all in on stats. That being said, buddies are being removed now, so we don't have these, obscene, because Zephyr is alone. The amount of times where you just have a golden Nomi or you have a golden brand, you have a golden anything. You get one copy, that means you get 3 copies, right? That's how Zephyrus works. So yeah, very, very easy to get these huge stat piles. So by removing Amalgadon now, I think that is cool where it allows you to, because it's a bit annoying sometimes when, I talked about that situation earlier where I'm playing Flurg and I might have several 100 health minions that I didn't have to sell for a 20 health Amalgadon because it's better. So now with Nightmare Amalgam, you still, you could theoretically still build these minions, but you can't in one turn make like 3 perfect dongs. And I think that's probably one of the things that people were annoyed about for Amalgadon. It's that number one, it can kind of come out of nowhere where somebody, you see, you can feel it coming like, the brand tiered to 6. Oh, he's giving a turn on 6. Oh, his board is full of Amalgadons, right? Like first person to 6, go, Chef, Primal Fin, right? Full board of Amalgadons. So, yeah, go ahead.
When I first heard, Amalgadon's getting reviewed, I was like, good. I was like, okay. Like the game is so similar in late game, everyone just gets donked. But then there's like Nightmares coming back. I was like, wait a minute. I know this card.
Wait, is it just going to be tier 3 Amalgadon?
I know this card. Wait, why? It's the same thing. It's like, but I do think that Toxfin not being in is going to change how quickly you can get poison on this, right? Because before, when Amalgadon was originally in, Toxfin was in, and you just like you get a Toxfin, you get an Anayo Marja, you're done. You're just like, okay, I don't have to touch this card. It does what its job.
There we go.
Now that SI Fin's in, it's gonna be quite a bit harder. You have to kind of focus. You can see it now with SI Fin in that if you just have 7 Murlocs. Like this thing is this SI fin's not trigger. It doesn't trigger. Or if you just have brand 6 Murlocs, like this SI fin really doesn't trigger. So you're really gonna have to put some work into it. Another thing with dongs that was really broken is that it would adapt plants, and then the plants would be the trigger for your SI fin, essentially. So you were able to kind of cheat the poison because dong would adapt plants for you, and then you could like have enough. But now that you don't have the ability to adapt plants on these Nightmare Amalgadons, it's not going to be as easy to just like, oh yeah, I'll just play, Murlocs and Dongs, and then the Dong will give me plants to get my procs for my SI fin, and we're good. So it's going to be quite a bit harder to just freely make Divine Shield poison units, and then just win the game off of that. It's gonna be a bit more work. So I think it's fine. I'm not 100% sure that it's fine. I'm really not. Like next week or something, I could come here and be like, "This is a problem. I don't like this." But for now, I think I'm somewhat optimistic that it won't be like as busted as just Amalgadons again and everything. So we'll see. We'll see.
Not everyone here has played with, back when this guy was in, and the meta, like when this guy was tier 2, the meta was really just get as many amalgams.
Yeah, this card used to be tier 2. And when this card was tier 2, Rat King was like one of my favorite heroes, actually. That goes to show you like how things have changed. Like, I was like, Rat King, you just buy every one of these, and they're like 5/6s, and it's so good, at the beginning of the game. But now it's like, Rat King. What hero is that called?
So the I completely agree in that it's a lot harder than it looks right now, because people might look at this and be like, oh, what's the difference? It's basically Amalgadon, right? Like you give it Poison Divine Shield. But it's really hard to trigger 7 now. Like that was a very, very significant nerf. Like I gave the example earlier in earlier episodes how you would oftentimes have Bran and then have either an Acolyte or a Void Lord, and that's 3 things. Now, Void Lord, if you go first and you make board space, yes, you can still, somewhat reliably proc, but that's still only half the time. And usually, if you don't get to poison it very early, they just keep getting more health, and it keeps getting less likely that your 7 is going to trigger. So I do think that it's going to be a lot more difficult to make them poison Divine Shield, also because you can't play the module before you have 7. So this means that you will first need to triple into a 7, then wait.
Slow down. You can't.
Okay, sure, you can. It's just going to be a lot more difficult once you have moduled this. So it's way more difficult, because before you could usually just get your module and then roll for a Toxfin and you could put it on there. But when you're playing with 7, you want the reverse order. But one is on tier 4 and one is on tier 5. So what are you going to do then? Are you going to pull up? Are you going to have your module, and are you going to hold it? Are you going to not play it? Are you going to play it? And there's all those things you have to think about. So I do think it'll be a lot more difficult now to get Poison Divine Shield.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how people adapt it. It might not be that people are using this just for Poison Amalgadons or something. It might be more of a filler to play like dragons, or filler to play Quillbores, or it might just be a Naga engine somehow. I don't know. I haven't seen all the Naga cards. So there's going to be uses for this card. It's not going to be dead. Like people are going to play with it. People are going to find a way to make it work. It just might not be that the only thing to do with this is make it Poison Divine Shield. It's going to be an option, of course.
Absolutely. No. I mean, something that is all tribes is going to see play. Let me make sure that I made the point across. It's just a lot harder to poison this thing. But yeah, you're going to want to play this in a whole lot of comps, for sure.
All right, let's talk about some of the other cards that got revealed, because it wasn't just Amalgadon being removed. It wasn't just the Nightmare coming back. We also have Deep Sea Angler. So this is a 2-mana 2/2. Give a minion 3 health, and taunt until next turn. So basically a 2/5, I would say, and kind of a decent card if you get synergy. A 2/5 isn't like super premium. It's basically what's that card? The dragon, the Wealth Smuggler. It's basically a Wealth Smuggler, right? So Wealth Smuggler early, like turn 3, is pretty good actually. I actually like Wealth Smuggler early, but by itself it doesn't do anything. So you're really gonna have to find synergy with this card. If you have that 1/3, and then you have this, you basically you could make this a 5/5, right? Turn 2 or turn 3. That's pretty strong, right? That's gonna mostly trade 2 things. So there is some synergy, but its essence isn't like super broken, right? The ability to give taunt on things is pretty good, but
I think it's one of those setup cards that you're going to buy just because you're going to be doing stuff with spellcraft later.
Yeah.
Like this allows you to then buy the the 5/4 that will trigger all the spellcraft. It allows you to buy the shoal. It allows you to buy Eventide Brute, and then later on it's a Naga on your board for what was her, Atissa, I believe her name was. So that I think especially at the start, if Nagas are broken, if we are going to play the game of see a Naga, pick a Naga, then yeah, I would say that it's going to be a solid pickup, even though the card on its own doesn't feel like it's broken or anything.
Yeah, it's not broken. I'm not, but I will be picking it up. But for now, until I understand how far I could abuse Nagas, At first, I gotta over abuse them and then tone it down. But first, we'll be buying every single Naga that's on the shop.
That's how we test, guys. Pick new cards, ask questions later. Right? Like pick new card, pick new card, pick new card.
Now, there's the next card, right? Eventide, I do think is potentially very strong.
I would go a bit further and say like very, very potentially pretty strong.
This card could be the nuts, basically. There's too many spells and ways to get this thing to pop off, especially when crowbars are in. You just if you're able to just generate like 5-6 blood gems.
What I'm looking at is, are Murlocs in or not, right? Because if Murlocs aren't in, like this big ball of stats will carry harder than before because you won't have the 7, even though it's it's harder to proc, but there's still going to be more poison in with Murlocs in. We haven't seen all the Nagas. Maybe there's a poison Naga or something, right? Like, well, I mean, there isn't a poison Naga, but we have Manted Queen, so but that's a 6-drop, right? And that's not always going to stay on the board due to it not having a tribe, so it's harder to buff, etc., etc. Anyways, yeah, very good, because regardless whether Murlocs are in or not, if you can make a big minion in the mid game, that's still very, very good. Even though you might be afraid that someone might have a poison at some point, they're unlikely to have it at that point. So your big minion is going to carry, it's going to allow you to level, and then you can basically do whatever you want.
Yeah, and it's permanent as well, right? So you're just getting stats and you're keeping it. If you have 2 of them, right, every spell it's a Peggy. Actually, if you have 2, right, then you're essentially getting the Peggy strats. But yeah, I do think this will be played a lot just because there is going to be ways, like when Nagas are in, there's going to be ways to just generate spells. So you can always just have this and get some stats. And there's a lot of heroes that can also take advantage of it. Bananas take advantage of it. And Mukla's getting better. Like, what's going on? Like, I'm already a Mukla fan. So hearing that Mukla's going to get a little bit bigger is going to be pretty cool. So I do think this one is not, it's not really... It's gonna be hard to skip this early, I think. Like if you get this and you have any Naga direction or any feel that you might go Nagas in the game, like this is a pretty easy buy just since because it can scale so quickly, so fast if you have the right setup. And if you're playing Bear Off, like let's let's do it. It's gonna be, I don't know. If you're playing Bear Off, it's gonna be kind of nuts. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, good card.
Yeah. Next up, we've got the Manted Queen. Now, this is supposed to replace Amalgadons, essentially, kind of giving you something to do in the late game if your opponent has big stats. And it's also better in the early game since um, you just need other minion types for it to activate. Like, you can easily get like a 2020 Divine Shield. Like, well, maybe not easily, but you can get a 2020 Divine Shield, essentially. Like, that's not... that early game, that's nuts. Like, that's not fair. Like, what? Like,
Yeah, it's a big spike. If you triple into it with like 4 or 5 tribes on your board, then yeah, that's amazing.
So there's gonna be a lot of people that are.
I don't think it's something that you really like build around in the late game, right? It's more something that
Well, to be fair, you have 5 of these. Like Amalgadons, just have 5 of these. You know.
No, they don't have a tribe. So they don't support each other.
Just give it a tribe.
Or just give it a tribe, okay. Have a tribe on this bad boy, right? But yeah, so that's the thing where this will at some point you look at your board and be like, I shouldn't sell this, but I want to because I need to keep scaling with my Agam or my this or my that. But yeah, it's I think it's good for the game that it's not just, oh, I'm giving you the Poison Divine Shield option, and like with Amalgadon, you can also make it huge. Here's Poison Divine Shield, and it has 180 health. Good luck, right? That's
I guess you just run 2 at max, huh?
You need support for it, absolutely. So yeah, I wouldn't. It's like you could go for 2 and then try to make a golden one, and then that'd be cool.
But you'd rather have 2 of them than a golden one most of the time.
Not always, because the golden one, right, is healthier, and you get to open up an extra board slot. So if you need the poison, you'd probably want 2 of them, yeah. But if you just ran them early, you may want to combine them just so that
you can buy the third one, or you can
right. Like let's say you need to put another Atissa in, right, the 6-drop that scales.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. That means you're running Nagas. I guess you're running Amalgadons or
right. That's going to be the I guess the meta is already solved, right? Yeah, we just play Amalgadon for Naga. But that is what it feels like, man. With Nightmare Amalgam coming back, just play a lot of amalgams because they're also Nagas, and then have stuff that synergizes with Nagas as well. But on the other hand, if you don't have the actual Nagas to proc spellcraft, then Atissa is weaker. So if you just have a bunch of amalgams and Atissa, then you have to actually buy the spells. But then again, if you have a gem splitter and you have modules on those amalgams, that's very good as well, because blood gem
splitter scares me. I gotta say, like, that card in this meta seems really, really good. I mean, it's already good. Like, this meta, it's already good. Like, but yeah, I mean, I think there's just more upside on just like creating gems. And Gem Splitter is one of the best units to do that, right? But like probably the best. I don't think there's anything that comes close to it. Maybe if you had the buddy, and you like the Blackthorn buddy with Bacon's pretty good, right? With the Black, you get 6 gems, right? That's kind of stupid, but the buddy's gone, so you won't be seeing that. And I just think if you can just set up a Gem Splitter board with the 6-drop direction, it's going to be so much scaling.
Yeah, well, they did announce that certain minions were leaving, so we don't.
You think they're removing?
We don't. We have no knowledge of that, right? Like our insider info is gone now, right? This is what we knew. So for us, it's speculation now. Where I think that given how given how you can have amalgams with module and how proccing spells with blood gems is possible, I wouldn't be surprised if Splitter is one of the quill board that I just said, yeah, that's probably going to be a little bit too good. We might have to cut that.
You're hopeful.
Yes, that's some good copium right there.
Yeah. I'm definitely worried about Splitter. If Gem Splitter sticks around, because they're removing 5 units, right? And one of them's Amalgadon, so it's only 4. But yeah, I mean,
It's very possible that Gem Splitter stays.
what do you want? What do you want, God? By the way, what do you want, God? Like,
My wish was for my buddy meter to not get stuck on the Vine Shield. So
it's gone. It's gone.
In a way, I'm getting that. So that's what I wanted from the patch. Is there like? So there's Baby Crush times 1, Baby Crush times 2.
Come on, dude. What about Prester? What? Come on. Dude.
Yes. Prester, Baby Crush. Let's see, guys. Together we can create the perfect.
Mecro. I want Mecro out. I hate
Collins was Mecro, but I don't. Like maybe with Prester out, you may need to balance, right? So yeah, Mecro out, Prester out, Baby Crush out. A lot of people want Seafood out.
Slinger.
But keep in mind that without a Amalgadon in the game, maybe not as big of a deal anymore, right, guys? Because if Amalgadon's not in the game, because why was Seafood so dumb?
The problem is you can hit like Tad and
yeah. But why did you do that usually? To fish for more Amalgadons, right? Because
I just want stats.
Sure, you could still do that. But okay, I wouldn't be opposed to Slinger being gone if Amalgadon's out anyway. So,
I think Slinger is kind of like what's that? The Hamul, where it just wins more, right? It's more of
it's like if you're ahead enough so that you can bank a Slinger. That's when it starts to get there.
Just win more. Yeah.
That's true.
But some people want Trickster out. I don't care about Trickster, but I mean, whatever. Maybe.
Trickster can be a really dumb card, but
yeah,
on the other hand, we are getting Mantid Queen now, right? So it's not like there is no answer.
But the thing is, Mantid Queen isn't consistent. Like, what if it just gets like taunt, and you're just like, oh, it dies before it gets the attack?
That's true, because it can get the 5/5 multiple times, I'm assuming, right? So it's like +5 +5 +5/5 taunt. Yep. So I'm actually not sure if it can get that multiple times. My assumption is yes, because Amalgadon could also get plants multiple times and stats multiple.
I don't think you can get Wind Fury, Divine, or taunt multiple.
No. I think those are not repeatable, but the 5/5, right? Let's say you have 4 different types, you could theoretically just get the 5/5 3 times and then taunt and then miss Divine Shield, Wind Fury. So anyways, yes, Trickster might also be a bit of an issue, especially when Murlocs are out. It's very, very tough to deal with that amount of health. But then again, with buddies out, it also becomes harder to make this huge Trickster. Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
You no longer have the extra bananas from Mukla. Gallywix can't do it. Zephyrs isn't going to make like a golden Felbat or whatever, or whatever. However you made a huge Trickster before,
baby.
Yeah, Rag doesn't get that huge extra pump on it.
But he still gets the +3/+3. That's all you need,
Well, when the rest of the game gets scaled down, sure, but you still have to play Rag. That's the issue, right?
You Rag hater. Come on. Rag's one of the
I'm a Rag hater.
Best heroes in the game. Copium. Pure copium here. But there was another reveal, right? So we can kind of talk about Crypt's reveal as well.
Sure.
That should be pretty cool. So if you weren't around yesterday, Crypt talked about buddies being out. He also had his own reveal. Glow scale taunt 5-star 4/6 taunt spellcraft. Give a minion divine shield until next turn. Have you seen this, JD?
I have seen it.
Oh, you have seen it, yeah. What's your thoughts on this? I'm scared.
Good.
I'm scared. I don't know. Being able to freely give something divine shield is
what does the golden version do? Is it just more stats?
I assume the golden version is the same. Like,
should be. If this gets like 2 times divine shield, that's really
2x divine shield. What is that? What does that mean?
So essentially, you have to look at it this way, guys. Ever had a selfless on your board where you're like, I wish it would just shield the right thing? That's this card, right? So Yeah.
That's a way of doing that. That's a way
a
of
way of
looking at it.
looking at it. If you want to compare this card's power level, now obviously it's a Naga and it can get scaled, and you can't really scale selfless. Well, you can.
Oh, it's a targeted selfless.
It's a
Wow,
targeted
that's such a good way of looking at it. Now I'm not as like, I hate this card now. I'm now like, oh.
Well, it has a tribe. It has a tribe as well, and this means you
can
shield,
be scaled. Okay.
You can shield a big Hydra with this.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I know, obviously.
Some cool stuff with this. But yeah, we'll have to see, you know, how it plays out and how often you can and want to keep this on your board. That's probably the main thing. I think if
you can also just buy this and sell it like for a turn. Yeah. Like, and just like have a full board of Divine Shield out of nowhere. Like your opponent's not gonna know, oh yeah, he just bought 5 of these in the turn.
I can definitely see that be a thing for the late game.
For the late game,
instead of rolling for selfless, you're rolling for glow scale. So against the ghost, you roll for glow scale and you like keep it in your hand or something, right? Yeah. And then on the turn that you fight your final opponent, you're like, play the glow scale.
Dude, that's gonna be nuts. That's gonna happen for sure. Where
yeah, absolutely.
Oh my god, that's annoying. Holy moly!
While you can't keep the spells in your hand, you can keep the minion that makes the spell in your hand. So prepare for like the final fight. If your opponent has had some time, right? They fought the ghost, so they'll be like, how is their entire board Divine Shield?
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, Gallywix with some hoggers, like roll.
That actually makes some comps like
shield.
So much better too. Right?
Sorry, say again?
It makes some comps so much better. If you could just like play like Beast and everything as shield, like without having to like put up, and you can like protect your Baron, like shield your Baron. There's a lot of little things you can do with this that just makes it a lot nicer. So I don't know. Ew. I don't like this card. Overall, I'm back to not liking this card. And when you sit down, I was like, oh yeah, but now I think about it more. I'm back to like, I don't like this.
I feel like I undersold it for a second there, so I amped it up a little bit. It's like, no, Collins, I think you should be afraid. I think it's a cool. Well, we always have to see, right? Like, we can say like, oh, this card is a nuts, and be like, oh, this card's actually really bad, guys. Like,
it is still a 5-drop, and it's not that easy to like roll into it.
Absolutely. I think for the late game situation that we described it, like I think it's pretty obvious, right, that it's going to be used in that way. But as Collins points out, it is a 5-drop. So, and especially if other people are playing Nagas and keeping this on their board, it's like, just roll a bunch of brands in one turn. How often do you do that when everyone
actually, nowadays I'm just like, I had a game where I rolled 4 brands in one turn and I was just like, I should have bought them. Just like
the same brand every time.
I was like, damn, I missed my opportunity there. Just get a golden brand. But yeah, I don't know. This card scares me essentially. I do think in late game you'll probably be seeing units with like 2 shields, like 2 extra Divine Shields on units nowadays, maybe on average or so. But yeah, it's going to be pretty powerful just to be able to give something specifically something you want Divine Shield every time. Your Cleave has shield. Your card that needs to survive, like your Baron has shield. Your Spore has shield. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know.
I'm excited to play, man. It's just it's like, what is it? 4 more days. Yeah. So it's gonna be exciting for sure.
Oh my God, it's gonna be nonsense. But yeah, I mean, there's so many changes. Honestly, there's just so many things to look out for in this patch that it's going to be kind of hard to really grasp exactly every single change that's gonna go on. But it should be fun. One thing I do want to talk about as well is the lobby legends. Your thoughts on it with this change? So they did, if you read the lobby legends thing, they're basically saying that some of the best backgrounds players will be showcasing Queen Azshara and the new Naga minions. So they will be playing on the new patch for the finals, And I have opinions, but I will let you kind of talk about how what your
Sure.
thoughts on that are.
So as a player, I would not like this at all. Because I really enjoy getting good at a certain meta, and then I qualified on a meta, so I want to be tested in the tournament on that meta. But I do agree that it's going to be really exciting for the viewers. So from a viewer standpoint, it's like, wow, everyone's not really optimized yet, and we can see some cool new strategies, and it might actually be in the player's best interest to like not really stream much the days before. So like maybe they figured something out and they don't want to share it. So it is very exciting for the viewership. But as a player, hell no, man. I don't want to play a new patch like 4 days before a tournament. So yeah, what are you gonna say?
Yeah, you're being nice. I absolutely do not like this at all. I think it's very bad for the players. Like, can you? I mean, obviously you can't imagine, but it just bothers me to no end that they would do this. Like, I would be okay if they were like they played it on a different patch. Like League does this sometimes where their games will be on a different patch than the actual live patch.
Yeah.
And I think for this like case, it makes sense to do that where they play on this patch right now, and then like the next finals or the next qualifier is on a Naga patch. Like I'm okay with this, but like the people that got to this point, right? They're guaranteed extremely good at playing buddy meta. They're guaranteed good at analyzing what heroes are good in this meta, what heroes are bad in this meta, what strategies are good in this meta, what strategies are bad in this meta. And they did that to the qualifiers to make it to the finals, right? And now 3 days before the tournament, hey, new patch, buddies are gone. A bunch of tribes or a bunch of minion types were tossing your way. Learn this in 3 days to play for your lives, and people are going to judge you on how good you are as a player because of what you need to learn in these 3 days. How can I be okay with that? I'm not okay with that. It just seems so sad for those players to kind of almost like some players will be extremely good in this meta and they will essentially lose money because they weren't able to like practice over the weekend or whatever, and that's gonna just feel so like if I was playing, I'd be very annoyed about that, and it's just kind of a weird thing to do. It's hard to balance this because there's always going to be patches. There's always going to be changes, right? But when it's like tournament format, like this is an official Blizzard tournament stuff, it should be okay to kind of be able to like find a way to play on the previous patch because it's such a huge change, and it's hard for them. Like they didn't know that this patch was coming, right? When they qualified for this season, they didn't know Nagas were coming, right? Like Nagas is just been revealed yesterday, right? So how can you expect them to throw away all of their practice? Like they've put in so much time over the past couple of months practicing for this meta, getting good at this meta, qualifying, and just saying, hey, you've got 3 days to learn this new thing for 50K prize pool. Good luck, right? It just annoys me. So I'm not a fan of this. Personally, I just think it's going to be hard for them to play in this and really understand, right? Some people are good at learning metas, right? Like some people are historically good at learning metas, some people are not, right? But it doesn't mean that they were bad players because they can't learn their meta quickly, right? It just means that, it just takes them more time. So for that to be like how people are going to judge him, right? Because people are going to watch this tournament and be like, oh, this guy messed up this obvious Naga play. It's so obvious he should buy this card and then transition here. People are going to judge him off of that. And it's just so, it's going to feel so bad, because it's like, well, I mean, I had 3 days. Like I was learning buddy meta the whole time, and now I have to learn this whole thing. And I'm just not a fan of that mentality there from Blizzard. So that's my problem with this. I understand as a Blizzard standpoint, right? Oh, we need to promote the Nagas and whatnot. But as a competitor, which is, I would say is where I align the most as a competitor, over everything else. It just feels really bad to have to watch them struggle through that. Some players maybe enjoy it, but I think most of them will be annoyed.
I think that there's a lot to unpack here. Absolutely. So the overall sentiment is indeed that it's not very fun as a player. But I think once first of all, when you sign up for this, it's like you know that can happen, right? So it's not like Blizzard owes you anything.
I would say the next time this happens, that's true, but this first time, not really. Like you're not thinking about that. I know you're not thinking about that when you're qualifying for these tournaments. You're not thinking. That's not on the forefront of your mind. You're just like, I just need to be good at buddies. Let's go. You're not thinking, oh, you know what? 3 days before the tournament, I might have to relearn a whole new meta. Like that's not going through your mind at all.
Collins, that's not true at all. I 100% assumed I would have to play Nagas if I qualify for this.
Whatever.
Think about it, right?
Shady.
100%. I knew that. Well, maybe not 100, but if you would ask me, like, is it more likely you're gonna have to play? So the way how I framed it was like, well, either I qualify and it's really cool, or I don't, and then it's not my problem. So in my mind, I was okay with it. It was like, either I'm going through or it's not my problem. So
from my personal, I wasn't thinking about it. So
sure, all right, but I think that it was fair given that we knew there was a big shakeup coming in May, and then they announced it, and especially with how they do construct it and all that. So either way, like it's it happened essentially, right? So for the players, the most important thing is your mindset. You can either say, oh, this is bad and I'm not going to do well and it's bad. Or you can say like, hey, everyone else has exactly the same situation. And now it's up to me how fast I adapt. I will completely agree that it feels bad if, for me, I am someone that doesn't adapt very fast. So I'm at my peak at the end of the meta, which is funny and tragic a little bit. Like when the meta is about to end, I'm at my peak, compared to other players. So for me, this would not be good. It is a common argument that people throw out to say, it's part of being a competitor. How fast you can adapt is just part of the test that you have. And I don't think that is necessarily true because, the qualifying grounds is in a meta that was already very old. So the people that were good at playing like a longer meta, right, they qualify. Well, not necessarily, right? Just because it's, all 48 were probably very good. And they're also, at that level, everyone's pretty good at pretty much anything. Yeah. But there are some subtle differences between players, right? Like, so you might have some people that are good at the start of a meta that didn't make it into the lobby legends, right? And then now they're like, oh damn, it's a new meta. I wish that we qualified on this new meta and then played the tournament. But in the end, I guess to wrap it up, I think that it's fair because you're still part of this tournament circuit, and the fact that the tournament circuit is here means that it needs to do something for Blizzard, right? It needs to promote their game, right? And it's good for the game if there's tournaments on new patches, because then there's more viewership, interest. People are more excited to watch on a new patch. So yeah, I'm going to wrap it up again, and I say that overall, I think it's a good thing if I can put my own personal, this is what I would like if the whole world would just accommodate to how I would like it. Then let's just all have it very neatly, and then have all the tournaments and then a new patch, right? Like hold it off, and then I get to practice for a few months and then the tournaments. But that's not how it's going to go. So overall, I think that it's really up to the players now to have a good mindset about this and say, okay, is how it is. Everyone else is in the same situation. I'm just going to make the most out of it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think the players are good enough to adapt to this. Like, that's not really the issue. Like, there might be, maybe a couple of players in the finals that might perform poorly because they had work or busy and they couldn't, practice these last 3 days or something, right? Like, there might be some players like that, but I think overall, a lot of the players will be able to have a couple of days to practice and understand, at least on a base level, how they want to play this tournament out. But I still think it is going to be rough, just mentally, for at least some of them. That yes, all my practice is essentially not very applicable to this next tournament I'm about to play, and I have 3 days. to practice, right? I'm basically just speaking from personal. I'm not a person that suffers with meta changes usually. Like so, like this isn't necessarily like even bad for me, but I'm just thinking if I was in that position, I would be annoyed. Right? It kind of like it. Friend of a friend was more like egregious than this. Is just funny to me, but like it's kind of similar in that like, oh, here's a friend of a friend patch, and like, oh, now you have to kind of learn this friend of a friend meta in a week or two, and then you have the tournament, right? But this one's less like I think the meta will be, well, who knows how strong Nagas will be, right? So Nagas could be imbalanced, right? And then it's like more of a clown fiesta, but it's kind of similar in that you have a little time to prepare for this huge change in the meta. And I guess that will always be the case, but it's just rough when it's so close to the tournament, right? You basically have 3-4 days to practice because it's dropping on May 10 and the tournament's on May 14 to 15, right? So you have 4 days to practice essentially, and that's not a long time, especially when we've practiced. Like the qualifying period, right, was a meta of months, right? And now you have a meta of days to practice, and I just think that's hard to do. Obviously that's going to happen, but it would just be nicer if you were able to play on like a very publicized tournament on a meta that you've practiced very well on, and it's just weird to be judged very judged critically on the meta you did not really have a lot of time to practice on. And let's say you do very poorly, you go 8-3 times, right? Like, or something, you're out of the tournament, right? People will judge you on that, and it's just rough because you're like, well, I mean, I don't think people will judge you that harshly this tournament just because like the circumstances are so awkward, right? But that's there's still going to be some judgment, like, oh, you couldn't adapt, essentially. So it's just a bit rough, I think, just looking at it from the tournament perspective. From a viewer perspective, yeah, sure, I don't care, but just I'm just more looking at it from a competitor standpoint, and there I have some problems. That's all.
It's you're just going to have a Lobby Legends that's going to get the short end of that stick, pretty much, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know. I know.
Like anyways, we can go on and on and on.
Yeah. I know. I just felt like I needed to talk about it because when I read it, I was like, oh man, I was just like, I feel so bad. But yeah, generally, this will happen. This is going to happen. This is part of the game, part of the circuit system, or at least the content system, or whatever, the content circuit. There we go. I found the word. And at some point, you're going to have a tournament where you don't have a lot of time to practice. It's coming very early. This is the second one. So after this, like, people will be more aware that this can happen. I do think this first one will catch some people off guard, and maybe they won't adapt as quickly. But after this, now you're going to know this could happen, and just be aware. Like, if you qualify, you might not need to practice anymore because there's a patch that can change everything, But usually, I mean, you'll have some inkling of knowledge that this will happen, right? They did say Nagas were coming.
It's really more of a mental thing because it doesn't give you an edge, right, to know that the change is coming. It's just that it's
it does, right? Because if you know the change is coming, you can like relax and then like be ready to like grind those last couple of days. Because like, let's say I was grinding super hard this week, right, trying to practice for a tournament, and then like yesterday I'm like, oh
yeah, but that's more than enough time, right? Like, so not to nitpick here, but if it's announced on the 5th and the tournament's on the 14th, that's over a week, right, that you can relax still, right?
Well, so but you still have like 4 days to practice, right? So you still have to like get ready. And some people have
that
work.
That is a very fair point.
Some people have like kids. There's other things that.
Oh yeah, man. There's people with kids.
Yeah. I'm just throwing out some things out here.
I think I take it back. I think it's a fair point, because when the okay, so what it comes down to is, if you would have knowledge of the exact date when it would go down. No, not even that, right? If you would just know that nothing this month would matter, then you'd be relaxing from, basically the moment you qualified for the next
Yeah,
leg.
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I agree with that. Although I think that the relaxing bit might be, a bit overstated.
Yeah, you
I
play
think
like 3 hours a day instead of like 10.
well, I think if you can get let's say if you can get 2 days of just, you get your good sleep and whatnot, then sure. But, like you said, family, work, yes, maybe you have missed that 1 or 2 days that you could have taken, but because you thought that the practice would matter, you ended up going hard anyway.
Yeah, I mean, anyways, whatever. Like, we've talked about it. Not a big fan, but I understand it, but I'm still not a fan. Like, even if I understand it, I'm still not a fan. But yeah, it's just something I wanted to talk about because, I'm not competing in this one, but if I was, I would be annoyed, essentially. So, Edney, I think last thing is just like your final thoughts on Naga so far, right? Like, just like how do you feel? Like, we have a couple of reviews. We've got the Nagas. We've got the Kelly Naga. We've got the Queen Azshara. We've got the Divine Shield Naga. What are your overall thoughts?
We're doing great with names right now, right? The 5/4 Naga, Divine Shield Naga, 1-drop Naga, 2-drop Naga,
2-drop Naga. Yeah, exactly. The Naga we revealed,
Yeah, the thing that's not a Naga but is kind of Amalgadon with adaptations. So I think it's hard to not be excited, just because it's such a huge change and there's just so much testing that will need to be done. But I am somewhat scared that it will lean towards boars, and that, especially that the Lobby Legends tournament will be played on the patch where it is like boars. So we're just
that's true. That's another thing about, you bring up another good point for the tournament.
I was really weighing, should I bring it up, because I'm gonna make him go off again, right? Should I even bring that up? But, I was like, all right, I'll say it anyway. But.
You bring up another good point about the tournament that I forgot about, that you just reminded me. The meta could be absolutely horrible. The Nagas could be by far the strongest thing, and it makes no sense to do anything but force Nagas, and then you have this tournament of just people just forcing Nagas completely, and no other minion type matters because Nagas are just so much stronger than everything else. And it's well, that's not really a fun tournament to watch. It's not really balanced, so that's another issue that could arise, right? It's so hard to immediately get everything, all the angles right when you make a new minion type.
Yeah.
Right? It's so hard to just have it perfectly balanced. All the Nagas work well in function with what we already have, and in function with Quillboars, and function in elementals, to make it, and because essentially, Blizzard wants people to play Nagas, right? It's usually going to be overtuned and undertuned. If it's undertuned, that's not even that big of an issue, right? You just ignore the cards. But if it's overtuned, then you're going to have to play that, because it's the only way to win the lobby. It's the only way to do well. And if it's not perfectly balanced, right, the tournament is going to be so weird to watch, because they're well, I just need to force Nagas here. I won the lobby. Oh, I didn't force Nagas. I'm 8th, right? So there's just a lot, and it's such a high profile tournament. It's just so awkward to assume that you're gonna get Nagas perfectly balanced in the first patch that this tournament's being played on. So that's another issue that could very easily arise from this tournament. So yeah, another problem. That's a good point, Shady. That's a very, very good point that you bring up. I'm glad you mentioned it.
But you haven't considered the best possibility here, Collins. or the worst one, depending on what you're looking at. What if they're just balancing it right before the tournament, so the 4 days you practiced on the broken patch also don't really matter, and you're going in with 2 hours of practice instead? Yeah, we'll not consider that, because 4 days is also a little short, right? I think they always let it run for a bit longer. So
I mean, if it is like fundamentally broken, they will nerf it too, right? So. Because like when frogs were broken, when Wolf Smuggler, it took like 2-3 days, right, for them to adjust
that is
it.
true. Oh God, yeah. Imagine.
So you might actually be having like 1 day of practice.
If there is like something really egregious, it does get addressed fast. So that could be addressed before the tournament. Ooh.
Yeah. So you might not even know, right? Because it's not like it's gonna show in the client, right? You have to like be checking Twitter or something. And let's say
as a competitor, you'll know,
you're gonna know. If you're a competitor, you're gonna know for sure.
If you're a random player, you get caught off guard with those fast nerfs.
Yeah, but that's very scary. I would say that I don't know. I would just rather see it on the previous patch. Honestly, now that you've talked, I'd just rather see it on the previous patch because I think it would just be more honest. But overall, I mean, I think Nagas are cool. I think Nagas will be fun to play with. I think Buddies being gone is going to change the meta a lot. I think just the new hero seems okay. I'm a little bit worried about that hero itself, but I mean, I'm gonna watch the tournament.
Yeah, for sure. It worked. It's working, man. It's working.
I'm gonna watch the tournament. We're gonna have a topic about it next week.
I could just be in call like, can you imagine this guy's not forcing Naga? Yeah, what the hell, man? What's he thinking?
But yeah, I mean, there's more reveals to be coming, and we will have the full information next week or so, or next week we should. Well, it'll be released next week, right? So we'll just
so the next podcast you're getting from us will be with 2-3 days of
on
experience.
The 13th, right? So the day before the tournament.
Yeah, which is, I guess, great timing, right?
Yeah,
right before Lobby Legends, you're getting our initial feedback of what's broken, what's not broken, what you should play, and if it is only Nagas or not. So
yeah, hopefully it's not the only Nagas, or like Nagas are the best and nothing else matters meta, because that would be really, really sad. At least for the tournament. Like if there wasn't a tournament, it doesn't matter that much, but since people are playing, for their lives, it will matter. So we'll see. But overall, pretty good. Pretty good reviews. I think pretty excited. Tournament, whatever. But generally, apart from that, I think a lot of good things to be said about it. It looks fun, but he's being gone is so. It's hard to. It's kind of hard to analyze. Like my head is so filled of like Buddy knowledge.
Yeah. So
right.
They can just get so much worse. Not that it's like terrible. Well, like early game, right? Like later on to proc spellcraft or whatever, sure, but early game it was like, oh, it's so broken, man. You're like, my favorite opener was like you open with 2 bacons and you sell them both to buy a minion and then put 4 gems on that minion. Yeah. It's so good for your buddy meter. Well, that's not really gonna matter, right? So yeah, it's like just like, so you're telling me I could go 3-on-3 here?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know, right? Like, I'm gonna be like, I can go to 3 now. Like, oh, there's no punish. Like, it's gonna be so weird to kind of just like level and not care and be like, yeah, there's no issue for my buddy. And then I'm gonna look, and then it's not gonna be there, and I'm gonna be like, oh, my buddy, how I miss you so. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. But yeah, I think that's all we got here, right, for us today. Any final thoughts here?
Thank you guys for tuning in. It was a super, super awesome podcast. It was very, very fun to do this, to be handed this opportunity, right, to reveal the cards. And yeah, hope to do it again at some point in the future, and really excited to start testing these cards for you guys and then coming back with our findings next episode.
Yeah, that's very true. Thank you for the opportunity for the review. It was fun, though. It was funner for you because you didn't have to edit the video. You didn't have to do any of the hard work. But yeah, I had fun making the video, making the jokes and all that insider stuff. You know, there's a lot of like memes I couldn't put in there that I wanted
to. Say your Dom joke on the podcast might get us in trouble here, Collins. We've been called out on Twitter. Yeah. So
my what joke?
No, I'm more joking. So I think that Alkali joined the stream and she saw the picture of Dom standing over the grave, right? So she was like, "Oh my, give you boys a reveal, and this is what you're." I think it was more just her having some fun with it. So I think we're in the clear, but you know, I think for next time the podcast is sort of considered the video as well. So you know,
I'm putting the jokes in the podcast, right? That's where the jokes are. I mean,
I know.
The video was very clean, you know.
I know. I'm just saying for next time. I think the podcast.
So that I can do stuff like this, you know.
Let's see if I get you the.
If I laugh about the joke, I'm putting it in, you know.
That's the. Nah, I think this one was fun, right?
But yeah.
All right, guys. I guess that's it. That's a wrap.